Isaac, it's me. I wish I could talk to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about everything. I wish I could just talk to someone. It's all falling apart here. I can't believe what's happening. It's strange. Such a little thing.
How many times you watched that thing? Guess you really miss her. Don't worry, we're almost there. You'll be able to look her up once we're on board.
Dead Space begins with Isaac Clarke, chief engineer, and this crew deciding to go and try to find the lost ship called the Ishimura. The year is 2508. Humanity's homeworld is beginning to die out of resources. They create ships that go to different worlds that begin to destroy planets and take resources, whole chunks out of planets, so that humanity can thrive once again. But the Ishimura begins to crack a certain kind of planet, uncovering a strange artifact that begins to terrorize everybody else on the ship. And we need to get the ship back online, after mysteriously disappearing for so many years.
That's the Ishimura. Impressive.
The USG Ishimura. Biggest planet cracker in her class.
You're gonna need to boost the signal if their power's low.
Yes, we know. Boost the signal. More.
As our ship begins to get closer to the Ishimura, our ship begins to stall and fail, and we crash land inside the Ishimura, where we begin to get ready for the mission and walk inside, exploring this labyrinth of metal walls and metal doors. But the crew notices something strange. The power is out, and they start hearing noises in the vents, and they start arguing amongst each other.
Get that elevator back online.
Power's dead. I can't.
Then reroute the damn power! Look, if we all cooperate, we can figure this out a lot sooner. Let's get that computer display up, Isaac.
After pulling up a report, we find out that the tram systems are offline, giving us our first goal for the mission. But before we can do anything, we start hearing things crawl out of the vents, and a quarantine happens. Then, out of nowhere, we are suddenly jumped by creatures with blades for hands, and we start running down the corridor as quickly as we can to get to the service elevator. After getting out of the elevator, we find our first weapon, the plasma cutter, a staple in the Dead Space series. We find a message on the top of the wall saying, "Cut off their limbs." As we walk out the room, we are jumped by one of these creatures, but we do as what the wall instructed and shoot off their limbs. We continue down the corridor, and we find ourselves inside of the tram station's control room. We get a call from our crewmates, Hammond and Kendra, after successfully evading the attack earlier, where we find out that there is a busted data board and a fried, busted car blocking the path, and we must find a way to free it from its grasp. But as we continue to go down these hellish corridors, you soon realize that everything is certainly most impressive for the atmosphere. Dead bodies almost everywhere in the ceiling, our sounds of our stomping feet going across the metal hallways, almost the power going out at random moments, enemies coming out of almost nowhere to come and try to fight us. As we continue down the corridors, fighting as many enemies we can, we begin to repair the tram station, but not as easily as you think it'd be. So many enemies try to jump you around these parts. Then, after we get done repairing the transport station and rescuing our crewmates, we go back to the ship to see what we can salvage from the wreckage. But not after it explodes and we are jumped by another creature. After killing the creature, we begin to get another mission so we can meet up with our crewmates in another place of the ship. thus beginning the story of Dead Space 1. Before continuing exploring the multiple plot lines in this title, let's talk gameplay. Dead Space itself is a 100% survival horror. You're dealing with limited items, limited ammo, and limited saves, while dealing with challenging enemies that will stop you along the way. And while exploring these dark corridors, you might also want to try to upgrade yourself. Find things like money that you find laying on the ground, and also power nodes that help you upgrade your weapons and upgrade your armor. But the one thing that the devs did on purpose to make you feel slow is that you are wearing a giant piece of armor. The developers slowing you down on purpose to make sure that you don't feel like a capable killing machine. Isaac is slow. He doesn't move fast. And every time he moves, every time he shoots, he's slow. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to fight. And it works with the gameplay so well because just like you, the player, learning how to shoot, learning how to walk, Isaac does the same thing. You are playing as a tank, and the best example is his punching noises. Director Schofield began to inspire a lot of his work from Resident Evil 4. See, Leon and Isaac Clarke share a lot of similar traits while you play. I'll give you a few examples. See, both characters have the same kind of gameplay system and gameplay loop. At the beginning of both games, your character sucks ass at moving, but as you, the player, and the game character begin to actually learn how to play the game, you will become an absolute tank in battle. You will do nothing but destruction, and that goes for both Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space. But before everything else, we need to talk about the heads-up display. See, what made classic survival horror games special was the fact that most survival horror games back in the day didn't have a heads-up display, making everything clean and seamless. See, in Dead Space, everything that you needed to know, info-wise, was displayed on your character, from your health on the back to the gun and ammo. Even the video calls always came from your suit, with Isaac's little computer on his chest displaying who's calling him and what's going on. Everything in the game is displayed through Isaac's suit, creating total immersion for the player to get into that makes everything seem so intense. You're in the game. You're in there with the player. And don't even get me started on the suit itself. It's a beautiful masterpiece of art and work, and it makes me feel like a badass. I love the tank. I love the tanky feel. I love everything with Isaac's suit. And as you progress, it begins to get a little bit bigger and a little bit tougher. But as you face your fears and begin to battle your enemies, you realize that Isaac's spine is growing bigger, literally giving Isaac the ability to grow a spine and face his fears. Hell, even what's great about the characterization is that all the weapons that you do have are not normal weapons. They're not even weapons at all. They're tools. They're tools that an engineer has. Like the plasma cutter used to cut off limbs, or the saw used to cut off limbs also, but was used previously to cut off parts of the ship. Or another example, the force gun, a gun used to clear debris out of vents and other things, but acts like a shotgun. Or the line gun, used to clear debris also, but is used kind of like a rifle. All these tools giving you so many offensive options when you're fighting hordes of enemies. Each one having its own unique perks and deperks, and the ability to just create a good build depending on what weapons you usually play with. The only gun in the game is actually the line gun, but it's actually the weakest in the game because it can't cut off limbs properly. But this game does have a cool feature with the line gun. It has a special move called the fuck everything. But as you continue the game, you would want to upgrade these weapons with power nodes. See, And even the workbench will even growl at you if you do something wrong. Every weapon that you have has its own skill tree, but you realize that the skills are actually very linear. See, even when I was playing on normal, I realized that I didn't even need to upgrade that much of my stuff because the game will start throwing you into more combat encounters. And of course, as we start talking about weapons, let's talk about enemies. Necromorphs, like in the beginning, you'll see that they come out of nowhere and are animalistic. But their weaknesses are very, very weak. You can just shoot off their limbs and they'll just fall over. And of course, depending on where you shoot will change how the necromorph fights in combat. See, the dismemberment system is actually a very good system for this game. It creates a whole different dynamic for how the game plays, especially since the lead director actually did so much stuff to change how this game works with this engine. He masterfully, beautifully even, crafted an engine that was able to dynamically change how battle works within Dead Space 1. There's so many different varieties, from the basic necromorphs that come in but they hoard you so quickly, to the baby necromorphs that'll come in and actually jump on you. But don't even get me started on the mothers who will give birth to random ones in battle. There are so many different varieties of necromorphs that will come and jump you in battle, so you always have to be careful on who you're battling and how you're going to handle with all of them coming in all at once. Trust me, if you're playing this game for the first time, these creatures look like they come straight out of a nightmare. I remember so many times playing this game for the first time, and it killed me playing it. I was so afraid for Isaac getting hurt because I felt responsible for getting him killed by these horrendous creatures. The ones that scared me the most are the ones that make this type of specific sound. Please don't make fun of me. Isaac's other special tool also consists of a kinesis module, which lets you lift around certain objects and maybe even limbs and different types of objects to help you in battle. But the upgrades for the kinesis is not really that special, but it does come in and help for so much of the game. For instance, picking up the sack and throwing it at enemies, you'll be able to use the enemy's body parts as a form of weapon. And of course, the game also has shops throughout the entire ship. The shops usually consist of new weapons, ammo, heals, and soup upgrades. You can also find these chips that will let you find new recipes so that you can purchase more things at the shop, including usually more suits, more weapons, and better upgrades. It's also great to have a place to store items in case you don't need to use them anymore, which is great. Think of it as like an item box from the Resident Evil games or other survival horror games. You're able to do everything in one as you need inside this place. Dead Space is also a game with a lot of open-ended chapters. At the beginning of every chapter or the end of every chapter, you will get onto a transport ship and begin to explore a different part of the ship. To make sure that you do not break any immersion while playing, as you explore, you'll find different things such as locked closets that you can use power nodes to get inside and find upgraded items, or find ammo inside of walls, or power nodes inside of walls also. The way that the hallways feel inside of Dead Space feel so classic survival horror. It makes me feel like I'm exploring the Spencer Mansion again, while also exploring other types of survival horror games. But besides hallways, there are also other areas that you can explore that will also have no oxygen, giving you that fear that you can run out of breath. See, as you can see, Isaac has a time meter on his shoulder, showing you exactly how much oxygen Isaac can have, but you can refill it every now and then. The game actually does a really good job trying to mix up both of these types of areas to keep you on your toes. It gives you this real sense that you're never going to know exactly what kind of room you're going to go into next. But the majority of what you're going to be doing inside of Dead Space is actually fixing the ship. See, remember from the first part of the video, I said Isaac is an engineer. See, besides fighting, you're going to be doing a lot of what a space engineer does, and that's what makes Isaac's character feel so real, because he's not an everyday man. He is an everyday man. He's not a fighter. He's not a badass. He still has a job. He is an engineer. And you feel that through the gameplay and feel that through most of the main missions that you're going to be completing. From fixing up store batteries to fixing up parts of the ship, a lot of the game is mostly about fixing the ship. The horror may not last long forever while you're playing Dead Space, but it still gives you that rising tension from its environments to its enemies to the gameplay. See, Dead Space is a very unique game. It actually changed a lot of what survival horror has changed into, from its story to its gameplay to everything else. And I can't wait for you to really play it yourself. But besides that, let's kick right back to where we were going in for the story. Even though our mission was to repair the Ishimura and find the secrets within, Isaac's mission is actually to find his long-lost girlfriend, Nicole, who went missing shortly after being issued on the Ishimura. Before the events of the story when the outbreak began, Nicole tried to find a way to find a cure to the infection. Sometimes you would see her around the ship, mostly in areas that you wouldn't expect her. She would help you with certain objectives or help you with certain areas so that you can actually beat certain puzzles. There were even some areas where you would have to protect her from the necromorphs so that she can repair something for you so you can progress. But as you notice while playing, every time you would see her, she would always be out of reach, creating a sense of both a guardian angel and a stress-induced kind of feeling that you can never get to her. But every time you would get done with one of these missions, Nicole would always walk off like you weren't top priority. These are really weird encounters that make everything suspicious for the story, because you start to feel like things are not being told your way, and you're going to have to find out the mysteries yourself. She also began to act very unnatural, from her movements to the way that she would see things to the stuff that you would see on certain computer monitors, like these cultish symbols always filling up the air and filling up everything electricity. While Hammond and Kendra are acting very strange with you, making you try to pick a side throughout the entire game. But to be honest, it also kind of makes sense, because again, no one was prepared to get on the Ishimura to face off against hordes of undead enemies. The whole game, you're playing this entirely cat and mouse type of feeling, where these characters aren't telling you exactly what you're trying to find out. And it made you feel like you can't trust any of the human characters. All this coming to an end when Hammond dies from a juggernaut type enemy. And the funny thing is, Kendra isn't broken up about it.
I just lost all of Hammond's vitals. Is he dead? Oh God. It's just us now, Isaac.
Being stuck with a crew and only 2 people on a ship filled with flesh-eating monsters adds so much tension to the game and mystery, especially since all the characters, again, don't like each other. And it creates this unique sense of difficulty to just adjust yourself with any of the characters. But as we continue, we find out that the Ishimura went on the wrong planet and recovered something called the Marker, an alien artifact that's able to bring people back from the dead and also create an alien type of disease that can affect anybody through the mind.
Afraid of. I knew you would come. Just like you said.
As we continue through our mission to repair the ship, we easily find out what the marker actually does. It emits a signal to human brains that makes them pretty much be insane. It turns people mentally unstable to the point where they start turning into necromorphs. Throughout the entire game, you might be able to hear different types of audio logs to see the progression of how people be dealing with these outbreaks, including certain ones about mothers smothering children or fathers killing their wives in order to slow the progression down. And it's truly terrifying from a point of view of a zombie lover myself. But as we get the marker and load it to a ship, something happens.
Wait. Amelia. Where are you going?
Sorry, Isaac. I couldn't let him go through with it. I suppose I should thank you for finding the marker. We even managed without help from the USM Valor. Thank you for helping me find him, by the way. My department's been looking for this place for a long time. See what kind didn't know us? It was the government's mess to begin with. This whole planet is one big experiment.
After finding out each piece of the puzzle for the story, you find out that Kendra betrays you, and she's working for the Church of Unitology, which worships the marker, and they're trying to use it as a weapon so that they can awaken it and start to conquer different worlds. Kendra has left Isaac Clarke on the Ishimura to die, but to our salvation, Nicole saves us and begins to help us get on the ship so that we can go after her for one last battle.
Thank you, Isaac. I always believed in you. I knew you'd return to me. We are whole again, Isaac. We are whole.
Even after finding out this plot twist for years, you find out that Nicole is a hallucination and that everything she did was fake, which gives you a kind of idea of how Isaac has been throughout the entire journey of Dead Space 1. You see, all those moments where Nicole was with you, helping you throughout the entire game, you find out that those weren't real. That every single segment of Nicole being with you was actually fake. And you find out that Nicole sadly passes away even before you even arrived on the ship. Each chapter being named by a specific letter of the entire game. And trust me, it's a heartbreaker. Even to this day, after finding out this entire plot hole, I still get chills because it makes me feel bad for Isaac. Because again, Isaac is just an everyday man. He doesn't deserve this kind of treatment. He's a nice guy. But still, to this day, it's one of the most impactful, one of the most important plot holes for the entire series. But before we can truly escape the hellhole that we are, Kendra traps us in this little chamber and plays the message that Nicole left for us fully. And it's haunting. For real.
Strange. Such a little thing. In the end, it all comes down to this one little thing. I didn't want it to end like this. I really wanted to see you again. Just once. I loved you. I always loved you.
Isaac's defeated gesture showing how he feels throughout the entire game shows us that mentally he was not prepared for something like this. But as we get closer to the end, something else comes, and it's big. And it kills Kendra right on the spot, revealing the mother of all necromorphs, a demonic entity, almost demon-like. As we battle it and escape, we fly out and try to escape as hard as we can as we see the cluster bomb the planet and destroy everything in sight. After dealing with all that hell, Isaac begins to play Nicole's video again, but this time in total, utter silence. Dead Space is one of the most influential games that has been ever created in the survival horror genre, and it's sadly never going to be able to come back. For EA has no plans on making anything else with Dead Space. Dead Space does something that a lot of other games, especially survival horror games, don't do nowadays, and that is tell its story through gameplay. Almost everything that you've experienced today is experienced through an immersive sim, and it's unlike anything else in any other kind of game. I love everything about Dead Space, from its atmosphere to its gameplay to the stories of all three games, which we will cover in the future video. Everything about Dead Space is just beautifully well crafted and just something else entirely. It crafts a mature story with a mature character, with a horrific background and horrific type of environment that hasn't really been seen before in any other type of game. Maybe except for System Shock, which is another inspiration for Dead Space, which, if you want me to cover that one day, definitely leave that in the comments. And the one person that we can thank, or company that we can thank, for making this game possible is Resident Evil 4. Because without Resident Evil 4 being as successful or as achievable as it was, we wouldn't have Dead Space. And to be honest, I'm really happy that Dead Space was even been able to be thought of. It's one of the most influential type of survival horrors out there. And to be honest, it even excels in everything else like cosmic horror. The fear of the unknown or the fear of not knowing exactly what you're going to be going through is exactly what I think Dead Space does so well. You're not going to know exactly what you're going to be going through in these rooms or what enemies you're going to be facing. And it's beautiful. It does everything beautifully well done. And to be honest, I feel like you guys should definitely check it out if you have not played Dead Space. Especially since now Dead Space is more accessible than ever. You can usually find Dead Space on PC, Xbox, or PlayStation 3. Sadly, it's not on PS4, but there is a remake that is out that you can play, in which the remake does everything that I just told you even better for Dead Space, which one day, if you want me to, I can cover Dead Space 1 remake, which would be kind of cool, in my opinion, because the remake does a lot of other things different than the original does, especially expanding on the story, the gameplay, and everything else. But as we near to the end of the video, I wanted to say thank you guys for watching. It means a lot that you guys can chatter in and come in and comment and watch my videos, and I'm glad that I'm making these videos just for you guys. Also, if you want to see any more content, I usually do polls for different games y'all want to see. Well, anyway, besides that, I want to wish all of y'all a great day. And also remember to save at that red save point. And last time, like and subscribe. Love you guys, and have a great day.